HRV, or heart rate variability, may well be the single most important indicator of your overall well-being. It can be used as a measure of how ready you are to engage in exercise or mental work. It can indicate how energized you'll feel throughout the day and can essentially impact how capable you are of going about your day-to-day life in work, study, fitness, and more. I will be documenting 1 week of attempting to increase my HRV and seeing whether it has any positive impact on my training, mental ability, and general well-being. So what is HRV? HRV stands for heart rate variability, and it's a measure of the variation in time intervals in between each of your heartbeats. So you have what's called the interbeat interval, and this is just the amount of time in between each of your heartbeats. HRV is a measure of how much your interbeat interval changes over a period of time. I use my Apple Watch to calculate my HRV, and the way it does this is by collecting all of your interbeat intervals over a period of time. And then it takes this data and calculates the standard deviation, which is a measure of how much your interbeat intervals differ from your average interbeat interval. HRV is important because it's a measure of how adaptable your body is to switching between activities. It can also indicate you're more capable of doing intense mental work, like studying, for example. So I'm in my Apple Health data now where you can see your HRV measurements. You can see my average today is 85 milliseconds, and you can also see how my HRV's changed over time. It's trended up throughout January and February after I've actually begun implementing some of these HRV increasing protocols myself. But throughout last year, it was pretty stagnant at around 60 milliseconds. I also use this app called Auto Sleep, which pretty much just tracks your sleep. Not sponsored, by the way. It tracks your average HRV while you're asleep, which is better than tracking it while you're awake because there's no external factors that are going to influence your HRV. You can see my average last night was 80 milliseconds. And on this and your average resting heart rate, it assigns you a sleep fuel rating. And that pretty much just indicates how energized you'll feel throughout the day. It also assigns you a readiness rating based on your HRV and resting heart rate when you wake up. A higher readiness rating indicates a greater capacity to train and that you're less stressed and less fatigued. So without further ado, let's get into the week and see how we can actually increase our HRV. So I've just woken up and my readiness score is optimal. So I had a waking HRV of 135. Also just woke up, so I feel like not that ready, but we'll see how I feel in like 5 minutes after I've fully woken up. I think this workout felt pretty normal. Today was a pretty normal workout. Not particularly good, not particularly bad. So I have arrived at the gym now. Plan is to do some high intensity interval training. So the way I divide my cardio up for the week is I aim to do 3 to 4 sessions, and 2 of the sessions to be HIIT sessions, and then the other 2 sessions to be more low intensity. So, wish me luck. Unfortunately, the HIIT sessions are the ones that people would probably dread the most because they're the hardest, but ultimately I think they reap the most reward. And so today I'm planning to do a HIIT session, and I'm feeling a bit of that opposition to wanting to get in there and do this because I know it's going to be hard. But I think like the hard things in life are just what brings the most reward, I think, because otherwise they wouldn't be so hard. And yeah, the plan for my HIIT sessions is I do three rounds of 4-minute bursts of fast running, or pretty relatively fast running, depending on how fit you are. But I try to get my heart rate to within 90% of my max heart rate. So your maximum heart rate you can calculate by subtracting your age from 220. So my approximate maximum heart rate would be 198, and to get within 90% of that is just within 180 plus. So I find that if I bump up the treadmill to say speed 16, I can get to that 180 BPM mark once I've been running for 4 minutes. So that's what we're going to try to do. And it is hard. It is quite hard. So it is now 9 p.m. and I think I'm gonna go to bed soon. And I actually had dinner at 4:15 today, which is, I think by most people's standards, quite early. And the reason I ate so early was, number one, I had to do something later in the day, so I couldn't have dinner at my normal time, which is 5. But I prefer to eat early because if you eat too late in the day, too close to the time that you go to sleep, it can actually decrease quality of your sleep. And obviously we're trying to increase the quality of our sleep and increase our HRV as well. So let's see whether the early dinner has a positive outcome for our HRV. So just woken up and my average HRV throughout the night was 97 milliseconds, which is one of the highest readings I think I've actually ever had. So that's good. Maybe the early dinner paid off. Maybe the cardio has paid off. Who knows? I just did legs. First of all, I'm dead. But I feel like that's just inherent with legs. But I had one of the best HRV readings that I've ever had. So I don't know. But my waking HRV was lower than normal. So that potentially could have had an impact. I don't know. So supposedly another way of increasing your HRV is by doing breathing exercises. And it's like if you inhale for 5 seconds and then exhale for 5 seconds for a few minutes, supposedly that increases your HRV in the short term. But to be honest, I think that's just some external factor that's having a short-term impact on your HRV and isn't going to really have a lasting effect on increasing your HRV. And that's why we're going to do cardio again. So today is day 2 and I'm now going back to the gym to hop on the treadmill and do some very low intensity cardio. And I plan to just run for maybe 20 minutes at a pretty slow pace. And the intention is to keep my heart rate within zone 3, which is, I believe, 70 to 80% of your maximum heart rate, which for me is around the 150 to 170 mark, I think. So pretty easy session, pretty easy to commit to. But I think things like this that aren't really that difficult can still give you a lot of benefit, not only in terms of improving your heart rate variability, but also just generally in terms of like your energy levels and your ability to focus on things. So again, day 3, just waking up. HRV was average of 89 overnight. It's not bad. I think that's pretty good. But my waking HRV was 242, which is pretty high. And it's given me a very high readiness score. So we'll see how that affects my gym performance today. Hopefully it's good. It was an okay workout, but I don't think I felt anything more than I would normally. As in, it was maybe slightly above average workout. So I just ate some suboptimal food with suboptimal macronutrient profiles and suboptimal calories for my diet. Like realistically, what even is that? Just like processed stuff, but I ate that. That might have an impact on HRV because your diet definitely influences your HRV. So we'll see whether the suboptimal snacking that occurred at the end of dinner there has any effect on the HRV overnight. So average HRV last night was 93. So it doesn't look like all that eating random stuff last night had much of an impact. I didn't do cardio yesterday either. Yeah. So I've also just realized, so today and yesterday, I have been feeling a bit more, I guess, not really rearing to go with work and also gym. And something I've noticed at the same time is that today and yesterday, I haven't run or done any cardio, which potentially might have an impact on how just up for it I feel. But at the same time, my HRV has stayed pretty similar. So yeah, I'm not sure what the correlation is, but we'll keep going. Just woken up and my average HRV reading overnight was 76. And that is lower than what I've been getting these past few days. And potentially that's more in line with kind of that reduced energy I've been feeling, but I really want to get it up. So this morning I'll be doing some HIIT cardio with the gym. Let's go. So today is Saturday, and last night I had something that went on a bit later, so that finished at 10 p.m. And so I reckon I ended up probably falling asleep at 11:30, 12, which is around an hour and a half, 2 hours later than I normally go to sleep. And my HRV was at 79 milliseconds average overnight. So yeah, I think I'd lost my train of thought here, but the point I was trying to make is that if you don't have consistent sleep and wake times, it can decrease your HRV. So today at the gym, I hit shoulders and arms. And despite the rating that the Auto Sleep app gave me of just, I think, optimal, like just slightly optimal. And then my sleep fuel was, I think, average. It was a good workout, good focus, hit some PRs, and just overall subjective feeling of the workout was also pretty good. I think the energy levels were pretty high as well. So we finished the week of trying to increase our HRV, and ultimately my HRV did increase over the course of the week. And so did I think that having that increased HRV contributed to like an overall increase in the quality of my life? I think yes. But something to keep in mind is that I had been doing these HRV increasing protocols before this week as well. So I'd already experienced the benefits of them. And therefore, this week, there wasn't that much of a change from what I'd already been experiencing. But what I will say is that I think cardio, especially HIIT or high intensity cardio, is extremely beneficial in terms of how mentally focused you can be, also just generally how good you feel mentally, and also how present you can be in social situations. Now, ultimately, HRV is just a metric of how stressed or fatigued you might feel. So I think it's always a good idea to, number one, track your HRV, and number two, try to increase it as much as possible. And I'll no doubt be continuing to implement these HRV increasing protocols in my own life because it actually improves how I feel so much.